I never thought I'd be sitting across from a divorce attorney at 34, discussing how my husband of 8 years had secretly transferred our entire life savings, $287,000, to his brother's account. But what Nathan didn't realize was that his betrayal would lead me to discover something far more devastating than just missing money. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Eliza Mercer, and 6 months ago, I had what anyone would call a perfect life. A beautiful colonial home in Westridge, a thriving career as a marketing director, and a marriage that I believed was built on trust and mutual respect. Nathan and I met in college, fell madly in love, and had crafted what I thought was an unshakable partnership. We'd spent years building our savings, planning for our future children's education, and dreaming about early retirement. That all changed on a crisp autumn morning when I received a notification from our bank that I initially dismissed as a glitch, an alert about a substantial transfer, essentially zeroing out our joint savings account. At first, I laughed it off. Surely this was some technical error that would be resolved with a quick call to the bank. I tried reaching Nathan at his office, but his assistant said he had called in sick that day. Strange, considering he'd kissed me goodbye that morning before heading to work. I tried his cell phone, straight to voicemail. An unfamiliar anxiety began creeping up my spine as I called. The bank directly. Yes, Mrs. Mercer, the transfer was authorized using the proper credentials and security questions. The funds were transferred to an account under the name of Eric Mercer. The customer service representative's voice was matter-of-fact, devoid of the panic that was now consuming me. Eric Mercer, Nathan's younger brother. The struggling entrepreneur who had cycled through 5 failed business ventures in as many years. The same brother whom Nathan had always felt responsible for after their parents died. The brother I had cautioned Nathan about lending money to after the last time when our $30,000 investment in his short-lived food truck business vanished without a trace. My hands shook as I hung up the phone. I tried Nathan again. Voicemail. I tried Eric. Voicemail. I drove home, my mind racing through possibilities. Maybe Nathan was planning a surprise? Perhaps he was temporarily moving the money for some tax purpose I didn't understand. But why? Wouldn't he tell me? We had always been transparent about our finances. When I arrived home, I noticed Nathan's car in the driveway. Relief washed over me. There must be a reasonable explanation. I rushed inside, calling his name. The house was quiet, too quiet. I found him upstairs packing a suitcase. Nathan, what's going on? The bank called about our savings. He didn't look up, just continued methodically folding shirts. I needed to help Eric one more time. He has a real opportunity now, Eliza. A sure thing. My world tilted on its axis. You emptied our entire savings without talking to me? For another one of Eric's schemes? It's not a scheme, he said, his voice unnervingly calm. It's cryptocurrency mining. He's already secured investors, but they needed more capital immediately. The timing is crucial. Then why not discuss it with me? My voice rose with each word. That's our entire safety. Net, our future. We're trying to start a family, Nathan. He finally looked at me, and I didn't recognize the coldness in his eyes. You would have said no. You never believed in Eric. I'm your wife. We make decisions together, I was shouting now, tears streaming down my face. How could you do this? I'm going to stay with Eric for a few days, he said, zipping up his suitcase. Give you time to calm down. The investment will pay off, Eliza. You'll see. As he brushed past me, I grabbed his arm. You're not leaving until we figure this out. Call Eric right now and get our money back. It's already been transferred to the mining operation. It's done. He pulled away from me. I'm sorry you can't understand. This is for our future too. After he left, I sat on our bedroom floor, surrounded by the half-empty closet and the lingering scent of his cologne. How could the man I trusted most in the world betray me like this? 8 years of marriage, and he had discarded our partnership for his brother's latest get-rich-quick scheme. I called my sister, Claire, who arrived within the hour. While I sobbed in the kitchen, she made calls, to a financial advisor, to a lawyer friend. The general consensus was bleak. Without Nathan's cooperation, recovering the money would be difficult, especially if it had already been invested. "You need to protect yourself now, Eliza," Claire said, her voice gentle but firm. "I know you love him, but this isn't just a disagreement. This is financial infidelity." That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced our home, looking at pictures of our life together, wondering how I had missed the signs. Had there been any? In my restlessness, I found myself in Nathan's home office, searching for clues, answers, anything that might make sense of this nightmare. I opened his desk drawer and found a stack of mail I hadn't seen before. Credit card statements from accounts I didn't know existed, receipts for expensive dinners and hotel stays in the city, dates when Nathan had told me he was working late or traveling for business. My stomach churned as I kept digging. His laptop was password protected, but I knew his patterns. He used variations of his childhood dog's name. On my third try, I was in. What I found in his email would turn my world upside down again. There were hundreds of messages between Nathan and someone named Vanessa. Intimate messages, plans, photos. Not recent exchanges either. These went back years. My hands trembling, I opened a folder labeled Meadowbrook Investment. There, in plain text, was the truth that made the missing money seem almost insignificant. Nathan and Eric weren't investing in cryptocurrency. They were using our savings to buy a beachfront property in Costa Rica, a property where, according to the emails, Nathan and Vanessa planned to start their new life together. They had been planning this for over a year. My husband wasn't just stealing our money, he was leaving me. I sat back, oddly calm despite the devastation. The betrayal was so complete, so calculated, that it felt almost like I was reading about strangers. In those quiet hours before dawn, as I compiled evidence and forwarded critical emails to myself, I made a decision. Nathan had no idea what I had discovered, and I would use that to my advantage. Sometimes, you have to lose everything to find your strength. And Nathan had no idea just how strong I could be. The morning sun filtered through the blinds as I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by printed emails and bank statements. I hadn't slept, but I felt more alert than I had in years. It's strange how clarity can come in your darkest moments. My phone buzzed. "Nathan." "I hope you've calmed down," he said when I answered, his voice carrying that patronizing tone he used when he thought I was being emotional. "I'm going to stay with Eric a few more days. The investment is moving quickly." I took a deep breath, swallowing the accusations that threatened to spill out. Claire had stayed over and was still asleep, upstairs. Her advice echoed in my mind. "Don't let him know what you found." "Not yet." "I understand," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "I was just shocked. Can we talk about it when you come home?" The brief silence told me he hadn't expected this response. "Of course," he finally said, sounding relieved. "I knew you'd come around. This is going to work out, I promise." After hanging up, I called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe twice in 5 years. My boss, Diane, heard the strain in my voice and didn't ask questions. "Take all the time you need," she said. Little did she know how much time that would be. My next call was to Patricia Goldstein, the divorce attorney Claire's friend had recommended. Her office could see me that afternoon. Should I confront him first? I asked Claire over coffee. Give him a chance to explain? Claire's expression hardened. "Explain what, Eliza? The money, the affair, the escape plan? He's had years to explain." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You don't owe him a warning." Patricia's office was in a sleek downtown building with a view of the city park where Nathan had proposed to me. Life's little ironies. The attorney herself was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that I immediately appreciated. "Financial infidelity is unfortunately common," she said after I'd shared my story. "But this is more calculated than most cases I see." She leaned forward. "The good news, if we can call it that, is that you have documentation. The bad news is that the money may be difficult to recover if it's already been moved offshore." "What about the affair?" I asked. "It strengthens your position, morally and legally," Patricia said. "But our priority is to secure your financial future. I'm going to be blunt, Mrs. Mercer. Your husband is planning to leave the country with another woman and your life savings. We need to move quickly." Over the next 2 hours, we developed a strategy. Patricia would file for an emergency injunction to freeze any remaining assets. I would gather more evidence without alerting Nathan, and most importantly, I would play along with his charade until we could catch him red-handed. "Won't the bank alert him about the freeze?" I asked. "Possibly," Patricia acknowledged. "But by then, we'll have already filed the divorce papers and secured what we can." The element of surprise is crucial here. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. As I left her office, I felt a strange mix of grief and determination. The life I had planned was gone, but I refused to let Nathan destroy my future as well. Back at home, I began a methodical investigation of our finances. Our joint checking account still had about $12,000. My last paycheck had just been deposited. I transferred most of it to a new account Patricia had advised me to open at a different bank, leaving just enough to avoid suspicion. Next, I went through our home office again, photographing documents and forwarding more emails to myself. Into a folder labeled Tax Documents 2023, I found something unexpected: paperwork for a life insurance policy Nathan had taken out on me last year. $2 million. My blood ran cold. I called Patricia immediately. "Is this normal?" I asked, my voice shaking. "It's not uncommon for couples to have life insurance," she said cautiously. "But the timing is concerning, given everything else. Forward me the documents." That night, Nathan called again. "Eric and I are meeting with the mining operation executives tomorrow," he said, sounding excited. "They've already set up the rigs. We're talking serious returns within months, Eliza." "That's wonderful," I said, hating how easily the lies came now. "When will you be home?" "Friday," he said. "I think we should celebrate. Maybe that Italian place you love?" "Perfect," I replied, thinking of the divorce papers that would be ready by Thursday. After we hung up, I sat on our porch swing, watching the neighborhood families return home from work, kids running across lawns, normal life continuing all around me. I thought about the woman, Vanessa, who had been waiting in the wings of my marriage for years. I wondered if she knew about the life insurance policy too. The next morning brought a new development. While searching through our safe for our marriage certificate, which Patricia needed, I found a USB drive I'd never seen before. Plugging it into my laptop, I discovered it contained detailed information about offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, but not in Nathan's name. The accounts were in Eric's name, with Nathan listed as having power of attorney. The pieces were falling into place. This wasn't just about running away with a mistress. This was a calculated plan to hide money, possibly from creditors or taxes, using Eric as the front man. I photographed everything and emailed it to Patricia. Her response was immediate. "This changes things. Don't delete anything. I'm bringing in a forensic accountant." By Wednesday afternoon, we had uncovered 3 more accounts and a web of questionable transactions dating back nearly 18 months. Patricia's contacts at the Financial Crimes Division of the State Attorney's Office were now involved. "This is beyond divorce proceedings," she told me during our call. What you've found suggests money laundering. The cryptocurrency mining operation may not even exist. I thought of Nathan's brother Eric, always desperate for money, always with a new scheme. Had Nathan been using him all along? Or were they partners in something darker than I could have imagined? That evening, as I was about to order takeout, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, I found a woman I'd never met before, though her face was hauntingly familiar from the photos I'd seen. "You must be Eliza," she said, her voice tight. "I'm Vanessa, and I think we need to talk." I stood frozen in the doorway, face to face with my husband's mistress, wondering what new betrayal this unexpected visit would reveal. I stepped back, allowing Vanessa to enter my home. Our home, the one Nathan and I had painted and furnished together. The one where we'd hosted holidays and dreamed of raising children. She was prettier in person than in the photos, with an air of confidence that momentarily made me doubt myself. How could I compete with this woman? But this wasn't about competition anymore. This was about survival. "I wasn't expecting visitors," I said, closing the door behind her. My mind raced. Was this a trap? Had Nathan sent her? Vanessa stood awkwardly in my entryway, clutching an expensive-looking handbag. "I know this is unconventional," she said, her eyes darting around the room, taking in the photos of Nathan and me that still hung on the walls. "But I think we've both been lied to." I led her to the living room, maintaining a deliberate distance. "Would you like something to drink?" I asked, buying time to gather my thoughts. "No, thank you." She sat on the edge of the sofa. "I'll get straight to the point. How much do you know about what Nathan and Eric are involved in?" I considered my response carefully. Patricia had warned me about sharing information. "Why don't you tell me what you know first?" I countered. Vanessa's composure cracked slightly. "I thought we were planning a future together, a legitimate business in Costa Rica, a fresh start." She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, then handed it to me. Then I saw this email that Nathan accidentally left open on his laptop. It was a message from Eric to Nathan, dated just 2 days ago. Transfer complete. "V doesn't suspect anything. Once the insurance policy pays out, we're set. Just stick to the timeline. Friday is still on." My stomach lurched. "The life insurance policy," I whispered. Vanessa's eyes widened. "What life insurance policy?" I went to my office and returned with the documents I'd found. As Vanessa read them, her face paled. $2 million. "If you die," she said, looking up at me with genuine horror. "Eliza, I swear I didn't know about this. I knew about the money transfer. Nathan told me it was startup capital for our eco-resort. But this..." She gestured at the paperwork. "This is insane." "Friday," I said, remembering Nathan's call. "He said he's coming home Friday and wants to take me to dinner." Vanessa's hand trembled as she handed back the documents. In Eric's email, he mentioned Friday is still on. I thought he meant their flight to San Jose. We sat in silence, 2 women connected by the same manipulative man, trying to process the unthinkable. "Did you love him?" I asked finally, surprised by my own question. Vanessa looked away. "I thought I did. We met at a conference 3 years ago. He told me his marriage was essentially over, just a formality at that point." She laughed bitterly. The oldest line in the book, and I fell for it. 3 years, I repeated, calculating the timeline. Our 5th anniversary, the fertility treatments we'd started, the house renovation we'd taken on together, all while he was building a relationship with this woman. "I ended things when I found that email," Vanessa continued. "I confronted him yesterday, and he had explanations for everything. Said Eric was being paranoid, that the insurance was standard financial planning." She leaned forward intently, but something felt wrong. I followed him when he left my apartment. He met Eric at a storage facility. They were arguing. My mind was spinning. "How did you find me?" Your address was in his contacts. I've known where you live for years. She had the decency to look ashamed. I came because if what I suspect is true, you're in danger. I stood up abruptly. I need to call my lawyer. While Vanessa waited, I called Patricia and relayed everything. She was alarmed. Don't stay in that house tonight, she instructed. And don't tell Vanessa where you're going. We don't know if she's being truthful. After hanging up, I returned to the living room with a new resolve. Why should I believe you? I asked Vanessa. For all I know, this is part of their plan. Fair. Enough, she acknowledged. But ask yourself, what would I gain by warning you? If I were part of this, wouldn't it be easier to let it happen? She had a point. Still, I wasn't taking chances. I appreciate the warning, I said carefully. I'll be handling things from here. Vanessa stood to leave, then hesitated. There's one more thing. In that storage unit, I saw them loading guns. After she left, I called Claire immediately. Within an hour, she had arrived to help me pack essentials. We were going to stay at a hotel Patricia had arranged, paid for in cash, registered under Claire's maiden name. As we were loading the car, my phone rang. Nathan. Change of plans, he said, his voice cheerful. I'm coming home tonight. I've missed you. My heart pounded. Tonight? I should be there around 11. Don't wait up if you're tired. Claire watched my face as I hung up. What's wrong? He's coming home tonight, not Friday. I checked my watch, 7:30 p.m. Claire, I think Vanessa was telling the truth. We finished loading the car in record time. As we were about to leave, I remembered something and ran back inside. In our bedroom closet, behind my winter boots, was a small safe where I kept my grandmother's jewelry. Nathan didn't know about it. A small secret in a marriage that had apparently been built on much bigger ones. Inside, along with my grandmother's pearls, was $5,000 in cash. Emergency money my mother had insisted I always keep. Every woman needs a way out, she'd said when she gave it to me years ago. I'd thought it was old-fashioned paranoia at the time, as I grabbed the cash. I noticed the corner of a manila envelope peeking out from behind Nathan's row of dress shoes. Inside were property deeds for land in Costa Rica, copies of what looked like falsified export documents, and photos of Nathan and Eric with men I didn't recognize. I took everything and ran back to the car. As Claire drove us away from the home I might never return to, I called Patricia again. It's worse than we thought, I told her. I think Nathan and Eric are involved in something illegal, something bigger than just stealing my money. The police contact I mentioned is waiting at the hotel, Patricia assured me. Detective Rivera specializes in financial crimes. Bring everything you've found. As we merged onto the highway, I caught myself checking the rearview mirror repeatedly. Claire noticed. We're going to get through this, she said firmly. Nathan's not the only one with a plan now. Little did I know that what Detective Rivera would reveal would make Nathan's betrayal seem almost insignificant in comparison. Detective Amara Rivera didn't look like the police officers I'd seen on TV. No rumpled trench coat or world-weary demeanor. She was perhaps in her early 40s, with intelligent eyes and a methodical way of examining each document I'd brought. We sat in a small conference room at the hotel, the contents of Nathan's hidden envelope spread across the table. Mrs. Mercer, what you found appears to connect to a case we've been building for nearly a year, Detective Rivera said after carefully reviewing everything. We've been tracking a money laundering operation with connections to Costa Rica, but we've been missing the local link. Claire sat beside me, squeezing my hand under the table as Detective Rivera continued. These property deeds are for land adjacent to a known hub for moving illicit funds across borders. And these men in the photos? She tapped one of the images. This one is Gabriel Mendoza, a person of significant interest in our investigation. You're saying my husband and his brother are involved with criminals? The words felt surreal coming out of my mouth. It appears they may be facilitating the movement of money, Rivera replied carefully. The export documents you found, they're for a company called Meridian Global Imports. On paper, they import handcrafted furniture from Central America, but our financial analysis suggests they're moving a lot more money than furniture. Patricia, who had joined us shortly after our arrival, leaned forward. How does this affect our immediate concerns about Mrs. Mercer's safety? Detective Rivera's expression grew serious. Based on the email exchange with the life insurance reference and the accelerated timeline, I believe there's credible threat. We'll place officers outside this hotel tonight, but we should move Mrs. Mercer to a safer location tomorrow. What about Nathan? I asked. He'll be at our house tonight, expecting to find me there. We have officers monitoring your residence, Rivera assured me. If he returns as expected, we'll have eyes on him, but we won't engage yet. We need more evidence before making arrests, especially if this connects to the larger operation we're investigating. After Detective Rivera left with copies of all the documents, Patricia stayed to help me file an emergency restraining order. This should be processed by morning, she explained. It won't stop a determined criminal, but it gives law enforcement more immediate authority to intervene if he approaches you. Claire insisted on staying with me that night. We shared the king-sized hotel bed, just like we had as children during thunderstorms. Neither of us slept much. Do you think he ever loved me? I whispered into the darkness. Claire was quiet for a moment. I think people are complicated, Liz. Maybe he did love you in his way. But love doesn't justify what he's done. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Where are you? I showed Detective Rivera's assistant, Officer Chen, who was stationed in the hallway. He advised me not to respond. 20 minutes. Later, Nathan called, then called again. And again. He's panicking, Officer Chen observed. That's good for us. People make mistakes when they panic. By dawn, Nathan had called 17 times and left increasingly frantic voicemails. Eliza, where are you? I came home early to surprise you. Call me back. Honey, I'm worried. Are you with Claire? Your car is gone. Please call me. Eliza, this isn't funny. I'm calling hospitals. If you're trying to punish me about the money, we can talk about it. Just let me know you're safe. The last one, left at 4:23 a.m., was different. I know you were in the storage unit. You have no idea what you're involved in now. Call me immediately. Officer Chen forwarded all the messages to Detective Rivera. By 8 a.m., she was back at the hotel with news. Nathan Mercer didn't go home last night, she reported. He drove to your house, circled the block twice, then left when he saw our unmarked car. He's currently at a residential address registered to a Vanessa Hargrove. Vanessa? I was confused. I thought she ended things with him. Either she lied to you, or he's trying to convince her to rejoin their plan, Rivera suggested. Either way, we're monitoring both of them. Patricia arrived shortly after with more documents for me to sign and news from her forensic accountant. We've identified where some of your money went, she explained. About $150,000 was transferred to a shell company called Sierra Vista Holdings. The rest appears to have been converted to cryptocurrency. Can we get it back? I asked. Patricia and Detective Rivera exchanged looks. It's complicated, Patricia admitted. But this is now part of a criminal investigation, which actually works, in your favor in some ways. If they're convicted of financial crimes, restitution would be part of any sentence. At noon, Detective Rivera received a call that changed everything. She stepped out of the room to take it, then returned with a grim expression. Eric Mercer was just found dead in his apartment. Apparent suicide. Gunshot wound, I gasped, the room spinning around me. Despite everything, Eric was still Nathan's brother, someone Nathan had protected and supported his entire life. Are they sure it's suicide? Claire asked. We're investigating, Rivera said carefully. But there was a note. What did it say? I whispered. Tell Nathan I'm sorry. They gave me no choice. The implications hung heavy in the air. Who were they? What choice had Eric been denied? My phone buzzed again. Nathan. This time Detective Rivera nodded for me to answer and put it on speaker. Nathan, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Eliza, thank God. His voice was ragged, desperate. Eric is dead. I need to see you. Please. I looked at Detective Rivera, who was already writing something on a notepad. Find out where he wants to meet. I've been staying at Claire's, I lied. I found the emails, Nathan. I know about Costa Rica, about Vanessa. Silence on the other end. Then, it's not what you think. None of this is. I need to explain everything. Meet me at Lakeside Park, by the old boathouse. 1 hour. Come alone, Eliza. I mean it. This is life or death. After he hung up, Detective Rivera immediately began coordinating with her team. This is an opportunity, but you are not meeting him alone, she told me firmly. We'll have officers positioned throughout the park. What if this is a trap? Claire asked, her face pale with worry. We'll be monitoring everything, Rivera assured her. Mrs. Mercer will be wearing a wire, and we'll have tactical teams ready to intervene at the first sign of trouble. As the police prepared their operation, I changed into fresh clothes Claire had brought from her place. My hands trembled as I buttoned my shirt. In just 1 hour, I would face the man who had planned to build a new life with my money, possibly over my dead body. Are you sure about this? Claire asked as I prepared to leave with Detective Rivera. I thought about the 8 years of my life I'd given to Nathan, about the betrayal that had shattered my world, about Eric's mysterious suicide and the dangerous web I'd unwittingly been part of. No, I admitted, but I need answers, and this might be our only chance to get them. Lakeside Park held memories for Nathan and me. Summer picnics, winter walks when the lake froze over, 1,000 small moments from our life together. Now, as Detective Rivera's team fitted me with a wire beneath my blouse, those memories felt like they belonged to someone else's life. Remember, keep the conversation focused on the missing money and Eric's death, Rivera instructed as her colleague adjusted the small microphone. If he starts talking about the business connections to Costa Rica or Meridian Global, let him. The more he reveals, the stronger our case. What if he's armed? I couldn't help asking. We have officers positioned throughout the park, including snipers with sightlines to the boathouse, she replied matter-of-factly. Your safety is our priority. If at any point you feel threatened, use the code word, reminisce. We'll move. In immediately. The drive to the park was surreal. Officer Chen was behind the wheel, with me in the passenger seat wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. A weak disguise, but enough to prevent Nathan from spotting me too early if he was watching. The approaches to the park? Drop me at the east entrance, I said as we neared the park. The boathouse is about a 10-minute walk from there. As I stepped out of the car, Rivera's voice came through the nearly invisible earpiece they'd given me. We have visual confirmation that Nathan Mercer is already at the boathouse. He appears to be alone. I walked the winding path through the park, past families enjoying the afternoon sun, joggers with their dogs, ordinary people living ordinary lives. How quickly my own life had spiraled into something unrecognizable. The boathouse came into view, a weathered wooden structure jutting out over the water. Nathan stood on the small deck, his back to me, looking out over the lake. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in his shoulders. We're with you, Rivera's voice assured me through the earpiece. As I approached, the wooden planks of the deck creaked under my feet. Nathan turned around. The man who faced me looked nothing like the confident, charming husband I'd known for 8 years. Nathan was haggard, with dark circles under bloodshot eyes and a day's worth of stubble on his normally clean-shaven face. Eliza, he said, his voice cracking. You came. You transferred our life savings without telling me, I said, maintaining my distance. You planned to leave me for another woman, and now your brother is dead. Of course I came. Nathan ran a hand through his disheveled hair. You don't understand. None of it was supposed to happen like this. Then explain it to me. I crossed my arms, fighting to keep my voice steady. Explain how you could betray me so completely. It started small, he said, glancing nervously over his shoulder at the lake. 2 years ago, Eric introduced me to some businessmen from Costa Rica. They needed someone with my financial background to help structure some investments. The money was good, really good. So you became a money launderer, I said flatly. His eyes widened slightly. How did you— I found the documents, Nathan. The property deeds, the export papers for Meridian Global, the photos of you with Gabriel Mendoza. At the mention of Mendoza's name, Nathan visibly paled. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into, he whispered. These people aren't just businessmen, Eliza. When Eric and I tried to back out 6 months ago, they made it very clear what would happen. So you decided to steal our savings and run away with your girlfriend instead? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Vanessa was never supposed to come with me, Nathan said, surprising me. That was a cover story. The plan was for me to disappear to Costa Rica, make it look like I'd run off with another woman and our money. You would be hurt, but you'd move on eventually. And the life insurance policy? I pressed. Was that part of the original plan too? Nathan looked genuinely confused. What life insurance policy? Don't pretend you don't know, I snapped. $2 million if I die? Taken out last year? Eliza, I swear I don't know what you're talking about. His confusion seemed genuine, but I'd believed his lies for years. I never took out a life insurance policy on you. Then explain Eric's email about the insurance policy paying out. About Friday still being on. Nathan's face drained of all color. Show me, he demanded. I pulled out my phone and showed him the email Vanessa had forwarded to me. As he read it, his hands began to shake. This isn't from Eric, he said finally, his voice hollow. Eric never wrote this email. It came from his account, I insisted. His account was compromised weeks ago, Nathan said urgently. We suspected someone was monitoring our communications. That's why we started meeting in person at the storage unit. In my earpiece, I could hear Rivera instructing her team, run a trace on Eric Mercer's email account. Check for unusual access patterns. If Eric didn't write that email, who did? I asked, though a sickening suspicion was already forming. Mendoza's people, Nathan said. They must have realized we were planning to go to the FBI. They've been one step ahead of us this whole time. He reached for my arm, then stopped himself when I flinched away. Eliza, where have you been staying? Why does that matter? Because if they sent that email, if they set up a life insurance policy, he looked around wildly. We need to get out of here. Now. They're not after me anymore. They're after you. Through my earpiece, Rivera was speaking rapidly. Something's not right. We've got movement at the north end of the park. 2 men approaching on foot. Nathan, I said carefully, if what you're saying is true, then who killed Eric? The police said it looked like suicide. Eric would never kill himself, Nathan said with absolute certainty. Never. He was going to testify. We both were. We had a meeting scheduled with federal prosecutors tomorrow. My mind was racing. If Nathan was telling the truth, then someone had murdered Eric and made it look like suicide. The same someone who might have taken out a life insurance policy on me without either of our knowledge. Vanessa, I said suddenly. She showed up at our house yesterday, warning me that you and Eric were planning something dangerous. She's the one who showed me the email. Nathan's expression shifted from confusion to horror. Vanessa works for Mendoza, he whispered. She always has. That's how I met her in the first place, at a business dinner Mendoza arranged. She was never my girlfriend. Eliza, she was my handler. In that moment, several things happened at once. Rivera's urgent voice in my earpiece. Mrs. Mercer, we've got a positive ID on one of the approaching men. Known associate of Mendoza. Use the code word now. Nathan lunging toward me, his eyes fixed on something behind me. Get down! And the unmistakable crack of a gunshot echoing across the lake. The world slowed to a crawl as Nathan collided with me, his body shielding mine as we crashed onto the wooden deck of the boathouse. The sound of the gunshot still rang in my ears when a second shot splintered the railing beside us. Reminisce! I screamed, finally remembering the code word as Nathan pulled me behind a wooden bench. Through my earpiece, I heard chaos erupting, officers shouting coordinates, Rivera barking orders. Shooter on the north hillside! Second suspect approaching from the east entrance! All units converge! Stay down, Nathan hissed, his body still protectively covering mine. Blood was spreading across his left shoulder. They'll have multiple shooters positioned. The reality hit me like a physical blow. Nathan had just taken a bullet meant for me. If he was working with these people, if this was all an elaborate setup, he wouldn't have put himself in the line of fire. Sirens wailed in the distance as park visitors screamed and ran for cover. Through the slats of the bench, I caught glimpses of police officers in tactical gear converging on our position. Target down at the north position, came Rivera's voice through my earpiece. Second suspect in pursuit. Mrs. Mercer, stay where you are. Medical assistance is en route. Nathan's breathing was becoming labored, his face pale from blood loss. Eliza, he whispered. You need to know the money. I never spent it. It's still, don't talk, I interrupted, pressing my hand against his wound to slow the bleeding. Help is coming. His eyes locked with mine, desperate for me to understand. Offshore account. Password is Eliza first date. All of it's there. I was trying to hide it from them, not from you. Tactical officers reached us moments later, immediately securing the area and calling for paramedics. As they separated us, Nathan grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Trust no one, he gasped, especially not. But the paramedics pushed me aside before he could finish, immediately working to stabilize him. I watched, dazed, as they loaded him onto a stretcher and rushed him toward a waiting ambulance. Detective Rivera appeared at my side, her weapon still drawn. Are you hurt? I shook my head, my eyes fixed on Nathan's blood staining my hands. We need to get you to a secure location, she said, guiding me toward an unmarked police vehicle. The situation is still active. As we drove away from the park, I tried to process what had just happened. Nathan was shot protecting me, I said numbly. He said Vanessa works for Mendoza. Rivera's expression was grim. We're looking into that possibility. The man we apprehended on the hillside is definitely connected to Mendoza's organization. He's being questioned now. What about the second suspect? Still at large, Rivera admitted. But we have officers canvassing the area and roadblocks set up. At police headquarters, I was escorted to a small conference room where Claire was waiting, her face etched with worry. She rushed to embrace me. When they told me there was a shooting, I thought... Her voice broke. Are you really okay? I'm not hurt, I assured her, though physically unharmed didn't mean okay. Nothing about this situation was okay. For the next several hours, I answered questions from Rivera and federal agents who had joined the investigation. I told them everything. Nathan's claims about Vanessa, the offshore account information, his insistence that he and Eric had been planning to testify. We'll verify his story, said Agent Dawson, a stern-faced FBI agent who specialized in organized crime. If Nathan and Eric Mercer were indeed planning to turn on Mendoza's organization, it would explain the coordinated effort to eliminate them. What about Vanessa Hargrove? I asked. Have you found her? The agents exchanged looks. Ms. Hargrove's apartment is empty, Agent Dawson replied carefully. There's evidence of a hasty departure. We've put out an APB and alerted Border Patrol. As the questioning continued, a young officer entered the room and whispered something to Rivera. Her expression shifted subtly. What is it? I demanded. Is it Nathan? Is he… Mr. Mercer is out of surgery, she assured me. The bullet missed any vital organs. He's in recovery with armed guards outside his room. Relief washed over me, not because I had forgiven Nathan, but because I needed answers only he could provide. There's something else, Rivera continued. The forensic team examining Eric Mercer's apartment found a hidden safe behind a false wall. Inside was a significant amount of documentation, financial records, photographs, recordings, all pertaining to Mendoza's operation. He was gathering evidence, I murmured, remembering Nathan's words about their planned testimony. It appears so, Agent Dawson confirmed, and based on what we've found, your husband was telling the truth about planning to come forward. A thought struck me. Nathan mentioned an offshore account. He said all our money is still there. Agent Dawson nodded. We're working with international authorities to trace and freeze any connected accounts. If the money is there, we'll find it. By midnight, exhaustion had overtaken me. Rivera arranged for Claire and me to be taken to a different hotel, a safe house, effectively, with round-the-clock security. As we settled into the sparse but clean room, Claire asked the question I'd been avoiding. What happens now with you and Nathan? I stared out the window at the city lights. I don't know, I admitted. He lied to me for years, Claire. Got involved with dangerous criminals. Put our entire future at risk. I turned to face her. But he also tried to save me today. Took a bullet for me. People can be both terrible and good, Claire said quietly, sometimes in the same moment. Sleep eluded me that night. I kept replaying Nathan's words, his desperate attempt to explain. Had he been telling the truth? Had the money transfer actually been his attempt to protect our savings from Mendoza's organization? And what about his unfinished warning? Trust no one, especially not who. At 5:17 a.m., my burner phone, provided by the FBI, rang. It was Agent Dawson. Mrs. Mercer, I apologize for the early hour, but there's been a development. We've confirmed your husband's account information and located the offshore funds. The full amount is there, untouched. A small piece of the puzzle clicked into place. If Nathan had been planning to steal our money, he'd had plenty of opportunities to spend it or move it further offshore. Instead, it sat waiting, protected, by a password that only I would recognize, the restaurant where we'd had our first date. There's more, Dawson continued, his voice turning grave. Approximately 20 minutes ago, someone attempted to access your husband's hospital room. When confronted by our agents, they fled. Hospital security cameras captured an image of the suspect. My heart pounded as I waited for him to continue. Mrs. Mercer, he said finally, the person attempting to access your husband's room was Detective Amara Rivera. The revelation about Detective Rivera struck me like lightning. Suddenly, Nathan's unfinished warning made perfect sense. Trust no one, especially not Rivera. Are you certain? I asked Agent Dawson, my voice barely above a whisper to avoid waking. Claire, positive identification from multiple cameras, he confirmed. We've been unable to locate her since the incident. Her department credentials were used to access the hospital, but she's gone off-grid. My mind raced, connecting dots I should have seen earlier. Rivera's convenient arrival in our case, her insistence on being involved in every aspect of the investigation, the way she'd positioned me at the boathouse, exposed on the deck. I need to see Nathan, I said firmly. We've moved him to a secure facility, Dawson replied. I can arrange transportation, but we need to move quickly and quietly. Rivera knows our standard protocols. Within 30 minutes, Claire and I were escorted by a heavily armed FBI detail to a nondescript medical facility on the outskirts of the city. As we were ushered through service entrances and back corridors, Agent Dawson briefed me on what they'd uncovered. "We've been tracking Mendoza's organization for years," he explained. "Rivera was never officially connected to our investigation. In fact, she specifically requested to be assigned to financial crimes last year, around the same time your husband claims he and Eric began planning to come forward. She was placed there to monitor potential informants," I concluded. Dawson nodded grimly. "We believe so. Her background checks out perfectly. Too perfectly, in retrospect. We're now investigating whether she's been working for Mendoza from within law enforcement for years." Nathan's room was at the end of a secured corridor. He lay pale against the white sheets, an IV dripping medication into his arm, but his eyes brightened when he saw me. "Eliza," he breathed, reaching for my hand. "You're safe." Despite everything, I found myself taking his hand. "It was Rivera, wasn't it? That's who you were trying to warn me about." He nodded weakly. "I realized it when you mentioned her name at the park. She was Mendoza's insurance policy, his source inside law enforcement. When Eric and I decided to testify, she must have been ordered to eliminate us both and recover the money. The life insurance policy? Had to be her work. She could access all the necessary documentation, forge signatures, create the perfect paper trail to make it look like I was planning to kill you for the insurance money. The pieces were falling into place." "And Eric's death?" Pain flashed across Nathan's face. "She made it look like suicide. The note was probably typed on his own computer. Classic frame job." Agent Dawson, who had been standing quietly by the door, stepped forward. "Mr. Mercer, we've recovered your brother's evidence cache. It's extensive. Combined with your testimony, we have what we need to dismantle Mendoza's entire operation." "If you can find Mendoza," Nathan pointed out, "he's careful. Never stays in one place too long. We have assets in Costa Rica monitoring his properties," Dawson assured him. "And with Rivera exposed, he's lost his eyes and ears in law enforcement." A knock at the door interrupted us. One of Dawson's agents entered, her expression urgent. "Sir, we've located Vanessa Hargrove. Border Patrol intercepted her attempting to cross into Mexico 15 minutes ago. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a glimmer of hope. The net was closing." The next 48 hours passed in a blur of debriefings, safe houses, and legal consultations. Nathan's condition improved enough for him to provide a formal statement to federal prosecutors. The offshore account was officially verified and the process begun to return our savings. Vanessa Hargrove, facing serious federal charges, began cooperating with authorities, revealing the full extent of Mendoza's operation and Rivera's role within it. But Rivera herself remained elusive. "She has too many contacts, too many resources," Dawson explained during one of our security briefings. "But she's running out of places to hide." On the third day, as Nathan was being prepared for transfer to a more comfortable recovery facility, Patricia arrived with news about our divorce proceedings. "Given the circumstances," she said tactfully, looking between Nathan and me, "I wanted to know if you wish to continue with the filing." The question hung in the air between us. So much had happened, so many lies exposed, but also so many misconceptions cleared. Nathan had betrayed my trust by getting involved with Mendoza's organization, but he hadn't stolen our money or planned to abandon me for another woman. He and Eric had been trying to make things right, at tremendous personal risk. "We have a moment?" I asked. When Patricia and the agent stepped outside, I turned to Nathan. "You lied to me for years." Nathan's eyes filled with remorse. "I did. I got involved with something dangerous, thinking it was just business. By the time I realized what Mendoza really was, I was in too deep. They threatened you, Eliza. Said they would hurt you if I didn't cooperate. So you and Eric decided to testify." He nodded. "It was the only way out. We couldn't run forever. And our money? The transfer? I knew they were watching our joint accounts. I had to make it look like I was following orders, moving the money where they could access it. But I diverted it at the last minute to an account they couldn't trace. He reached for my hand. I never intended to leave you, Eliza. Everything I did, even the lies, was to protect you. I pulled my hand away, needing space to think. You should have trusted me with the truth. We could have faced it together. You're right, he admitted. That was my biggest mistake. I thought I was shielding you, but I was just pushing you away. We sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of everything that had happened pressing down on us. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, I said finally. But I'm not ready to walk away either. 2 weeks later, the news broke. Gabriel Mendoza and 5 of his associates had been arrested in a coordinated international operation. Among those apprehended was Detective Amara Rivera, captured at a private airfield attempting to flee the EIE country. The evidence provided by Nathan and Eric's documentation had been instrumental in the arrests. With the immediate danger past, Nathan and I faced the daunting task of rebuilding, not just our financial security, but our trust. We agreed to put the divorce proceedings on hold and begin counseling, taking things one day at a time. 6 months after that terrifying day at the boathouse, I stood at Eric's grave with Nathan, placing flowers against the simple headstone. The federal prosecutor's office had officially ruled his death a homicide, and Rivera had been charged accordingly. Small justice for a life cut short, but justice nonetheless. He would be proud of you, I told Nathan, meaning it, for finishing what you both started. I still can't believe he's gone, Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. He was always the idealistic one, you know. Even when we got in over our heads, he was the one pushing to make it right. As we walked back to the car, a text message arrived from Agent Dawson. The offshore funds had finally cleared all legal hurdles and were being transferred back to our control. 1 year to the day after I discovered the missing money, Nathan and I sat across from each other in a small cafe. Ironically, the very same place where we'd had our first date years ago. I never thought we'd be here again, I admitted, stirring my coffee. There were days I was certain it was over between us. There were days I thought I'd never get the chance to make things right, Nathan replied. The scars from his gunshot wound were still visible above his collar, a permanent reminder of how close we'd come to losing everything. Our relationship wasn't perfect. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But we were trying, day by day, to create something new from the fragments of what we'd lost. I got a call from the federal prosecutor yesterday, Nathan said, reaching for my hand across the table. The last of Mendoza's lieutenants has agreed to a plea deal. It's really over. I glanced down at our intertwined fingers, at the wedding, rings we'd both chosen to keep wearing despite everything. No, I said, squeezing his hand. I think it's just beginning. Some people might find it impossible to forgive what Nathan did. The lies, the dangerous associations, the secrets that nearly destroyed us. Sometimes I'm still one of those people. But on most days, I've come to understand that life isn't black and white. That people can make terrible mistakes for what they believe are the right reasons. That love, real love, means choosing each other even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. When Nathan transferred our life savings, without my knowledge, he had no idea what I would discover, not just about him, but about myself. About my own strength and resilience. About my capacity to fight for what matters, to uncover truth, and eventually, to forgive. Our story isn't a fairy tale. It's messy and complicated and real. But it's ours, and we're writing the next chapters, together. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.